Hey, special educators. Welcome to Teach, Task Box, Inspire, the podcast dedicated to making your job as a special education teacher easier by making your instruction more fun for you and your students. Inside each episode, you'll learn how to get the most use out of your task boxes in the classroom. I'm your host, Lisa Hollady from Chalkboard Superhero, a veteran special education teacher passionate about empowering you with purposeful teaching strategies, helpful tips and tricks, and other classroom management tools that will help you thrive in your role. Let's get started with today's episode. Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Teach, Task Box, Inspire. I'm your host, Lisa Hollady, and today we're diving into something every special education teacher faces, usually with a stack of papers, a highlighter, and a mild sense of panic. It's the IEPs. So if you ever looked at a 15-page document and thought, where do I even start? Or if you've waited until the first week of school to read them and then immediately felt overwhelmed, this episode is for you. We're breaking down what to read in the IEP, what to highlight, what to act on immediately, and how to create a quick and powerful IEP-at-a-glance that saves you your sanity and supports your students from day one. So let's get into it. Step 1, don't read the IEP like a novel. Here's the mistake a lot of teachers make. They start on page 1 of the IEP and try to read it like a book, start to finish. The problem is you get bogged down in medical history or outdated assessments, or legal language before you even get to the parts that affect your day-to-day teaching. So let's kind of shift your mindset on that. You're not reading the IEP to admire it. You want to take immediate action. So here's what I want you to do. Highlight. Grab a highlighter or multiple colors like I do. And whether you print your IEP or view it digitally, there are 6 key areas to focus on. Number 1, the classification and eligibility. I want you to quickly note if the student is classified under autism or OHI or speech and language. Whatever it is, you need to know what that child's eligibility is and note it, highlight it, star it. This gives you a framework for what kind of supports they may need, especially behaviorally or socially. The next thing I want you to look at is their program or service recommendations. I want you to highlight where the student will be during the day. Are they inclusion? Are they in a 12-on-1 setting? Are they receiving resource room? Do they have speech twice a week? This tells you how you're going to build out that child's schedule. So highlight all of those things. Maybe pick a different color. The next thing that you're going to need to know is testing accommodations. I want you to circle or star any testing modifications or accommodations. Extended time. Do they need a separate location? Do they need things read out loud by a human or by a computer? Do they need breaks? These are often overlooked but critical during district assessments or even taking classroom quizzes. Number 4 is the present levels. I know this is the bulk of the IEP, but this is kind of where you kind of want to spend a lot of your time. This is your insight into where the student is functioning academically and socially. I want you to highlight key skill areas, and I do want you to resist highlighting everything because it's easy to do, but really hone in on the reading level, their math skills, their writing stamina, or really their communication needs. Don't get lost in the narrative. Pull out all the actionable parts. Are they decoding CVC words? Can they count to 20? Do they shut down during writing? These are our teaching cues, right? And you can even use the sides to mark up your paper or write little notes for yourself. Number 5 are their annual goals. Goals are gold, guys. Highlight each one and categorize it. ELA, math, SEL, behavior, etc. This really helps you plan instruction and independent work right from the start. I want you to ask yourself, all right, what materials do I already have that will support this goal? Or what can I prep before school starts to target this goal? Number 6 is any accommodations or modifications. So these are the in-class supports your student is legally entitled to. I want you to use a different color for these. Highlight things like directions read out loud, repeated instructions. Maybe they need visual cues. Maybe they need breaks. All of these types of things need to be highlighted, and these are legal things that they need. Also include any assistive technology. You will want these in your lesson plans and in your communication with gen ed teachers. All right, the third step that I want you to do is I want you to make note of what you need to act on before day 1. Once you've reviewed and highlighted the right sections of that IEP, don't just file it away. Act on it. Here's what you can and should do before the first day of school. Create visuals or tools based on those accommodations. So things like, do they need a visual schedule? Make it now, or make a list of all these things that you need to prep before day 1. Do they need frequent breaks? Maybe you need to set up a break area. Maybe you need little break cards. You need to make those. Do they use a token board? You need to make sure those things are printed and laminated before day 1. Maybe they need a point sheet that you'll need a bunch of copies for. Maybe you need a clipboard. Make sure you find and locate those and put it in a pile. All right, the next thing I want you to do is prep for reinforcement. If you know a student struggles with attention or task completion, you want to build a reinforcement system now and even tweak it later on so that you're not starting from scratch, right? The next thing I want you to do is talk to your team. Let your paraprofessionals or your co-teachers know what to expect. You don't have to share the full IEP, but give them a heads up. Like, for example, we have a student who's going to need breaks every 15 minutes and redirection when they're off task. They need to know these things before they enter on day 1 so that they're not setting your students off immediately. That brings me to this next step. You are going to make an IEP-at-a-glance, which is going to be your new best friend. And I have those. I will drop a link in the show notes so that you can grab one for yourself. But here's kind of where the magic happens. The IEP-at-a-glance is just a 1-page summary that kind of pulls all of those most important things that you highlighted, those actionable pieces of the IEP, into one single page. You can easily hand it to a paraprofessional. You can share it with your gen ed teachers. You can refer to it constantly. I usually hang it or put it in my sub binder. You can put it in your drawer, but this is all the types of things that you want to include in that. So you're going to have the student's name. I like to include a picture just so that if I have subs or paraprofessionals that are brand new, they know the student right away and they can recognize that student. They are going to have their classification right at the very top. You are going to have any nicknames that they go by, maybe their pronouns, if that's applicable. You're going to have any program or services. So if they are, in speech or OT or physical therapy, or if they get APE that day, whatever that they need, that's going to go on the top as well. You're going to have listed all of their accommodations, all of their goals, whether or not they have a behavior plan, and if they do, what is used for that behavior plan, what to avoid, what helps, any reinforcement strategies or really big motivators for that student. So you can also add a little section at the bottom that's titled, "What do I need to do as the teacher?" and list like 2 to 3 reminders for yourself. For example, you could say like, provide visual cues before they transition, or offer movement breaks every 20 minutes, or check for understanding after each set of directions. This tool helps you focus and stay compliant without flipping through 15 pages of the IEP every single day, especially those first couple weeks of school. So here's what I like to do. I like to color code my IEP-at-a-glance sheets by either grade or subject or maybe by student. I do keep them in a binder, but I am kind of leaning towards keeping them digital this year. So I might have a digital folder in my Google Drive. I do like to review them, if not weekly, bi-weekly, because oftentimes 2 or 3 months will go by and I'll happen to just glance at it again and say, oh shoot, I wasn't providing that accommodation. We're all human, right? We get stuck on doing other things in our classroom, especially if we have a larger caseload. And I'll go back and I'm like, oh my God, they were supposed to, have this, and this, and I never gave it to them. So I'm scrambling at the last second. So I do like to review those every couple of weeks. So I say, okay, I am providing all of these things because guys, IEPs are legal documents. You absolutely must be providing all the things that are included in these IEPs. All right. So IEPs don't have to be overwhelming. You don't need to memorize every word. You just need to know what to read, what to highlight, and how to act on the most important parts. And when you create that IEP at a glance, you're not just helping yourself, you're helping your paras, your co-teachers, and most importantly, your students who get the most support they need from you on day one. Thanks so much for listening to this episode. I'm Lisa Hollady, and I hope today's episode gave you a clear, doable plan for making the most of your IEPs before the school year even begins. And if you want that free IEP at a glance template, go ahead and go to the show notes and click on that link. Until next time, guys, bye-bye. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Teach, Taskbox, Inspire. I hope you've gained some tips and motivation to fuel your week ahead. If you're ready to explore more strategies for empowering your students as independent learners, be sure to dive into my free training at chalkboardsuperhero.com/training. And don't keep all this knowledge to yourself. Share this episode with your special education teacher friends who could use some motivation and inspiration. One more thing before you go. If you're finding this podcast helpful and want to show support, head to Apple Podcasts and leave your rating and review. Until next time, keep teaching, taskboxing, and inspiring.